Acting Speaker, I rise to support the Statewide Treaty Bill of 2024 and in 25. In doing so, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet and pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, but particularly my First Nations colleagues in this place and beyond, the member for Gellung, the member for Northern Metropolitan, Nginma Ngainga Wara, and of course the Victorian Senator, Jana Stewart. I acknowledge the members of the First Peoples Assembly, including inaugural co-chairs Uncle Marcus Stewart and Auntie Geraldine Atkinson, and today's co-chairs Reuben Berg and Nagara Murray, and Uncle Andrew Gardner, who represents the Wurundjeri people in the Assembly. And in doing so, I rise to express my pride in being part of a Victorian Labor government that's leading the nation when it comes to progressing the aspirations of the Uluru Statement from the Heart through voice, the creation of the First Peoples Assembly, the truth through the establishment of the Yoorrook Truth Justice Commission, and treaty through this bill, the nation's first treaty bill. And I'm proud to be part of a Victorian government that's continued to listen, respect and help elevate the views and aspirations of generations of advocacy by First Nations people, which will culminate through this bill, and which is built on extensive consultation, engagement and action since we came to government in 2014, because as resoundingly demonstrated by the Yoorrook Truth Justice Commission, over many generations of previous Victorian governments and parliaments have actively disempowered, silenced and ignored First Peoples when it comes to making decisions about their interests. And over far too long, this has led to a lack of understanding, often producing harmful and ineffective laws and policies, the legacy of which we continue to see today in the form of employment, education, health, wellbeing and socio-economic outcomes, all gaps that we must close. That's why it's critical, despite previous good intentions, that we now begin to reset that relationship between the state and First Peoples to ensure the mistakes of the past are not repeated. And that's why this statewide treaty bill places self-determination at the heart and helps us continue striving towards closing those gaps, reconciliation and making a practical difference to help First Nations people with health, wellbeing, educational, socio-economic and many other outcomes. And this bill will give effect through a range of new measures, but three in particular I just want to highlight: the future of the First Peoples Assembly of Victoria, the Gellung Warl, the ongoing First Peoples representative body, the Assembly of Gellung Warl, elected by First Peoples, will be the central decision-making arm of Gellung Warl and is answerable to First Peoples via its democratic nature and cultural obligations. Number two, the Nginma Ngainga Wara, which comes from the Wadi language, will be the independent accountability mechanism required under the national agreement to close the gap, and it will help be the mechanism to hold the state accountable for achieving its commitments to First Peoples. And the number three, Nyerna Yoorrook Telkuna, the Wamba language, will be the ongoing truth-telling office and will provide for non-judicial, place-based and self-determined truth-telling, healing and reconciliation, intended to build on the Yoorrook Justice Commission official public record of the history of the colonisation of Victoria. But, Acting Speaker, of course, treaties sadly no longer a bipartisan area of policy in this place. The Liberals and Nationals have pledged to introduce legislation to repeal the treaty bill should they form government within the first 100 days. Fancy that, you're going to the election and your first commitment, should you be elected, is to repeal the bill that brings together reconciliation and First Peoples together. Instead, they've proposed a new First Nations Victoria body, a standalone department in their own words, to work alongside Indigenous Victorians, not with, reportable to a new minister. But, Acting Speaker, this flies, of course, in the face of the work that's been done by Labor and this place through voice, treaty and truth. It totally ignores the extensive consultation and engagement we've done over those years to get to this point. It's not what First Nations Victorians have asked for, and the Liberal national approach is a return to the paternalistic government that these Conservatives only know to always fall back on. And look at the claims here. They claim to be a party of economic rationalism, but the Productivity Commission has also recommended this approach of self-determination through this bill. That's the way we get better economic outcomes, through self-determination and this bill. They claim to be the party of families, but through their approach here, and as I'll demonstrate shortly, they're all about division. They're not about bringing together families, they're about dividing families and communities. They claim to be the party of smaller government, but their own election commitment here is actually about creating more government, a new bureaucracy, a new portfolio, which flies in the face of that claim. They claim to be the party of deregulation, but their approach again is about more regulation, more bureaucracy, Here, we're actually proposing self-determination and decentralisation of government policy. It's unbelievable. And they wonder why the Liberals and Nationals continue to lose public support, confidence and trust. They opposed the yes vote, of course, and look at where Peter Dutton led them in the federal election. They got decimated. He lost his own seat. Their federal Liberal leader lost his seat. They've opposed no welcome to country ceremonies. They've opposed anti-vilification reforms in this place that we've sought to strengthen to protect people on the grounds of sex, gender, faith, culture and disability on the grounds of vilification. Their heir apparent federal Liberal leader, Andrew Hastings, is off and about demonising migrants again. He's saying the Liberals have to go further to the right to get One Nation votes. And they've got Jacinta Price as well, demonising Indian migration. And in this place, while we're debating treaty, in the other chamber, Acting Speaker, they're in the process of moving a motion that's all about taking away recognition for Indian and Sikh communities. As a son of migrants myself, I'll always stand up for minority communities, multicultural migrant communities and First Nations communities, because that's what we do on this side of the House, Acting Speaker. We always do what's right, and history always reinforces that approach. It's a world away from the Sir Robert Menzies era of this Liberal Party. He would not recognise where they are today. It was this party that's always progressed voice, treaty and truth, and this bill does that at the Victorian state level for the first time, introducing a new treaty in this country, and I commend the bill to the House.